Welcome to Pixel Pizza,
Did she say pizza?
your ultimate source for chiptunes, video game talk, and pepperoni. Delivered to you from Los Angeles and into the digital cyberspace of the 2020s.
Pizza power!
That's right, when super giant pizza.
I want a large, thick crust with double cheese, ham, pepperoni. Hey, where's my pizza? Pizza time. Welcome back, everyone, to Pixel Pizza. We are on episode number 3, Big 3, coming through. This is once again Jared, DJ Jet Set, here to take you on a ride, take you on a tour through the world of video games. It's going to be a tasty show tonight for you. We have another old friend of mine, someone I wanted to reconnect with, building on that theme we've been doing. And I think you guys are really going to like this one because he is just awesome, fun dude. His name is Owen Watson. He is a big artist on the Jackbox Games, which are some of the most fun games. If you haven't played them, go play them. Anyway, not a lot to say as far as preamble stuff today, but just know I got big things happening. I'm making big moves for the show. A lot of cool guests coming up. Now we're going to go to our musical artist of the week. This guy is called Popskyy. Popskyy with 2 Y's. Popskyy. So pronounce that however you want. But anyway, great artist. Excited to feature them. The intro track for us today is going to be called Blast Off. So blast off, and I'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Pixel Pizza. You just listened to the song Blast Off by our artist of the week, Popskyy. And now for the beginning of our interview section, I am very happy to be talking with an old friend, someone who's been doing a lot of cool stuff and eager to catch up. And this is Owen Watson, who's at Jackbox Games. Say hi, Owen.
Hi.
So yeah, we were just saying it's been what, 9 years, probably.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. Last time I saw you was at a Subway during a PAX in Boston, I think.
Wow, you remember better than I do. I didn't know it was a Subway.
Yeah. I think we were getting Subway. I was with James Johnson,
Right.
and I think we were getting Subway or something.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. That's probably right.
I unfortunately don't remember what I ordered at Subway. Though, so.
I probably usually go as like meatball or chicken teriyaki, so it's probably one of those two. If I had to guess.
Yeah, I do. You know what? I do that. Chicken teriyaki is probably my like go-to Subway sandwich.
Yeah.
This is a podcast about sandwiches, right?
Yeah, of course. That
Oh,
was
great.
Pixel Pizza is a form of sandwich in some places, but
Perfect.
okay. But yeah, getting on to the games, getting on to the video games. I like to start off my interviews with this question, which is, when did you know you wanted to work on games?
Wow. Probably when I was like, I don't know, 8. My sister and I always like played games together, and like she's the main reason I'm into games and anything nerdy. She was old, 3 years older than me, but she would even pull that like trick where it's like we had an N64 and like she'd give me the controller, but it wasn't plugged in.
Oh yeah, the classic trick. I know that.
Yeah. And I'm sure I fell for that for a couple of years, and then realized, hey, wait a minute, I'm not actually doing anything. But it's kind of funny. Video games have always sort of, been a big part of my life. But I never thought I would end up working in games. And it's kind of interesting, like a lot of people at Jackbox also never imagined working in games. Like they always liked games, but I was mainly in the animation industry before Jackbox, and then I helped make an indie game with a couple of friends, and then after that I found this job at Jackbox, and I've been here for 6 years.
That's so cool. So I was curious, like, was there anything you did in animation that you feel like informed your work on games? Are they, similar in making, or are there any differences you found?
Like the industries as a whole is kind of like, believe it or not, like the games industry is a lot more like secure. Like, you get an actual, job and salary. Whereas like in animation, it's kind of harder. It's a lot of freelance stuff. And I would say that like what I do at Jackbox as a lead artist is kind of like it's not it's very different from other lead artists jobs at other companies, because it kind of follows, at least the art follows like a animation pipeline. And it's all done in Flash. We use Flash, or I guess they rebrand Adobe Animate. But that's also what we used in animation at the studios I worked at. So the tools are kind of the same, which is great for me. Who knows how long Adobe is going to keep supporting Animate as a program, but well, I guess we'll see.
I didn't know that. That's really interesting. So what was it like going from working on an indie project to a bigger company like Jackbox?
I would say, like, honestly, like, it wasn't that huge of a change because at Jackbox, we make a party pack, right? And each party pack has 5 games. And so each of the 5 games has its own little team. So, you're still working with, 4 or 5 people, as opposed to like, working with a huge group of people. So it actually was not like a hard transition, because our actual game teams are really small. So it's kind of going from, a 2-person dev team to a 5-person dev team. And that was not particularly, different or that much more challenging.
Oh, so it's like each of the games is its own little sort of indie game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like every team has a lead artist, director, engineer, sound and music, and QA, and also a lead writer too, which is sometimes the same as the director. But yeah, so like every game team is, like 5 people. So yeah, it's not that different from working, as an indie dev, other than, there's an actual company that you have to provide a product for. But other than that, it's kind of like you're honed in on your own little project.
That's awesome. So I guess I should probably, I feel like most of the audience is gonna know what Jackbox is. I love it. I always bring it to parties when I could have parties with family.
What are
stuff,
parties? Yeah, I don't.
Like, if you had to explain like what it is in like a couple sentences, how would you do it?
Oh boy. I would say that they are, we have party packs, which is 5 small party games, that you play with your phones as controllers. And we have everything from trivia to drawing.
Awesome. Yeah. It runs a wide gamut. It's
yeah. And the cool thing is that like, since we have 5 games and each one has like a little team, they all look different, they all sound different, they each have their own kind of personality. So it's this really great like collaborative, almost like Kablam. Do you ever watch Kablam?
Oh yeah.
Where it's just like a bunch of different, kind of studios making stuff. Sometimes that's sort of what I think about when I think Jackbox, because like all the games are so unique in their own sort of way.
Yeah, like Action League now versus Prometheus.
Yeah.
Totally.
but it all fits, you know what I mean? It's like it's still cohesive, which is cool. It still feels like a Jackbox game, you know what I mean? Like
controlled chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say like the proudest project you've worked on is? Like the one you're proudest of?
Usually the proudest project I worked on is my last project. So I'll say Job. It's probably the proudest. We did I got to do a lot of character design and a lot of acting and stuff like that, and I think I'm most proud of that one.
How did you sort of develop your personal art style?
So I guess I was always like, drawing as a kid. My dad would have those like connected reams of paper, and I would just endlessly sort of draw on them, and then kind of like, I grew up especially loving like Dexter's Lab and Ren and Stimpy and Powerpuff Girls, and then sort of like the internet came along, right? And like that was game changing because you had stuff like Newgrounds, and Homestar Runner is a big influence. So it's kind of like the thought of merging the two worlds of network cartoons and also the kind of like clean vector simplicity of internet cartoons. I feel like I always sort of wanted to merge together.
Yeah, now that you mention that, I can totally see it.
Thank you.
And I guess bouncing back to Jackbox, I don't know I guess if it's small teams, maybe you're involved in it, but like, what are the playtesting sessions like for the games? Because that seems something.
Yeah, so
we
would always start off with like paper prototypes, or like on a whiteboard, and basically we have like playtest Fridays where anyone can bring in an idea that they want to try out for a game. So it doesn't matter if you're an artist, if you're an engineer, if you're in QA, anyone can bring something to the table and test it out, which is really cool because it's a very sort of collaborative environment. And so basically, like we're all gameplay testers, and we play all the prototypes and kind of fish out which ones need a little bit more work, which ones would never work in a million years, and then ones that are like, oh, I could see this as a game, and then we kind of move on from there. And then our leadership team at the end of the day decides on which one of the prototypes gets greenlit. But since COVID, testing party games that were originally intended to be played in the same room, at first it was a struggle trying to figure out how to do this, because like before, a writer could just write out some cards and pass them out, right? But now there needs to be an element of at least some sort of interface. Like for instance, I think Job started out as like a slideshow presentation that we just kind of play tested in a Google Sheets, and kind of tried to develop it from there. But so far I think it's worked out.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure, especially for you guys, the adaptations you've had to make because of the pandemic would be
which is it's the original intent of especially some of the earlier party packs was to be in a room with a bunch of people, which who knows when that's going to happen again. So when the pandemic started, a lot of people started playing them over Zoom, and and kind of so we projects that we were currently working on, we sort of had to pivot a little bit and make it a little more streaming friendly, because we didn't, and thank God we did, because like we didn't know when the pandemic was going to end, and we're still here, but like it is a little bit of a pivot, like really thinking and considering like the core of this game is still a bunch of people in the same room, but it also has to be just as enjoyable over Zoom. So like that balance is sometimes it's complicated for sure.
Right, because you could have just a big family playing it together at home, or it could be something that's played in the future whenever this ends. So
yeah, and like also people with large like Twitch audiences, that was we've always had sort of an audience feature where the audience can sort of play along. We've had that since Party Pack 3, and then we kind of we're kind of pushing the boundaries on that to make it more interactive for the audience. So the audience can directly, change something on the screen or vote to assemble a certain thing. So we definitely also have, Twitch streamers in mind too.
Yeah, I think streaming is so interesting as like a shared experience. I have this it's stupid, but it's a theory. I've always thought that like Twitch streaming is the closest thing that video games have to like a live theater experience, because it's something that like a bunch of people are communally seeing the same thing and reacting to it, and you don't get that just with like single player gaming or when it's online gaming, but it's not shared. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, I feel like it has, for me, sometimes it feels a little more special than even like a live theater, because like you really get that sort of interaction that you wouldn't normally, if you were seeing a show or something, like you can throw in some emojis that automatically disappear because everyone else is also posting emojis. But it's kind of like you get that communication, and that's sort of what we try to do at Jackbox, is kind of like make the audience also feel like they're involved and they're participating.
Yeah, that's great. That's really adds a lot to it, having that meaningful engagement. All right, so we are going to take a quick musical break. Stay right there, Owen. But we are going to be playing the next song by our artist, Popskyy. This is called Shy Guys. So take a listen, and we will see you after the break. Welcome back to Pixel Pizza. You just listened to Shy Guys by Popskyy, and we are back with Owen Watson, and we are talking about Jackbox and games and his thoughts. And yeah, here we are.
Hello again.
So I know you mentioned that like outside of like the art stuff, you've also, contributed here and there in other parts of the game. Like you said you did some voices for it. What was that like?
So that was more like in terms of like character acting.
Oh,
Wasn't I? Yeah. No, I think I might have done like some voices in You Don't Know Jack, Full Stream, and Trivia Murder Party. Like very short,
Oh,
like,
did you like do those voices like when a person logs in and puts their name up and there's like a scream or something?
yeah. I'm one of the screams, and I think I'm in like 2 or 3 of the fake commercials for You Don't Know Jack, which when we made that one, it was we were all in the studio, and the writers would just write something they thought was funny, and then just pull anyone they could into the recording booth and just kind of be like, read this.
That's great. And you have a history with fake commercials. You did that one, I remember, for Thief Town, where it was like the Zelda takeoff.
Yeah, that was that was a lot of fun. When you ask me what's the most thing I'm proud of, I would definitely say my acting in that particular commercial.
Yeah, it went down in a lot of award books, a lot of, what's the awards that they do for ads? I forget.
I should know this because my best friend just won one a couple
Wow.
weeks ago. So I look like a total asshole now. But Evie, are they Evie's?
Yeah, I think Evie sounds about right.
Okay.
So yes.
I knew it the whole time, yeah.
If not, I will fact check myself. This is the fact checking police. We have interrupted this broadcast because there was an incorrect fact presented. The advertising awards are known as the Cleos, not the Evies. Now you know that is the fact. Now return to your regularly scheduled Pixel Pizza broadcast.
Beautiful.
Okay. So how would you say you've seen the series change in the time that you've worked on it? Because there's been a bunch of games come out.
Yeah, I like every year we get a little bit more ambitious. And it's not necessarily from the leadership of the company. It's individuals on the team kind of want to push themselves and their work further. In terms of the art, like for me, they never had a on-screen talking host. It's always been like just a disembodied voice kind of walking you through the game and talking to you. And with Party Pack 5, I really wanted to make the first on-screen Jackbox host, which I did, and then every year since, I've tried to push it a little bit more and kind of like have more characters and more sort of interesting, fun little visuals that most people won't notice, but the very few that do, I hope enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. It adds a lot to it. It adds a lot to the aesthetic and the setting and getting into it when you have a host there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I'm playing to a lot of the things that I used to do in the animation industry, so it was cool to sort of pull more of that in, and kind of have people react to a cartoon host, which is amazing. We get a lot of fan art. Our fans make beautiful fan art, some that personally I think way better than whatever I did, but but it's always really cool to see, and I think I'm trying to think. Usually in a party pack, if there's an on-screen host, it is a game that I was lead artist on.
Oh, were you lead artist on Joke Boat?
Joke Boat. Yeah.
That was a really good one.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's hard. That's a hard one to play personally.
Yeah.
I struggle with that.
I guess in general, like, what would you say is like what separates like a good art style or just good art in a game from like not so great art?
It's honestly, it like after 6 years, I'm still slowly trying to figure but like it's always a balance, right? It's like, usability, is this concept clear? Are people understanding it? Is, how many elements are on the screen? Is this character moment that's beautiful and really, fun? Is it screwing up the pacing of the game? Is it necessary? So it's like, honestly, it's a just a balancing act of, UI, UX, pretty visuals, character animation. It's just like a delicate balance that, if it's wrong, you immediately can tell that it's wrong. Even people that know nothing about it can see something is wrong or something's not working right. They don't know why, but so it's really trying to nail down that balance.
Yeah, I can see that. Are there any like really good examples of games you've played where you feel like the art style was really well communicated and well done?
I'm always really, really just so impressed by WarioWare.
Yeah.
Because not only each mini game has its own kind of fun visual style, but you kind of know how to play the mini games without knowing how to play the mini games. So like, A, it looks cool, and B, it's very clear on what you sort of have to do. And if you don't know what to do, it has 3 words on the screen, like slide it this way or slide to the left or whatever, and you completely totally understand what to do. You don't need it straight up is clear and concise, and it's just, all that stuff looks beautiful.
That's a really good example, especially because, as you're playing, it can get so fast and so frantic, and yet at the same time, even when a new prompt pops up, you know what to do.
Yeah, it's whenever I'm trying to get inspired, or something's not working right, sometimes I will just play WarioWare and kind of be like, okay, well, this is a new mechanic they're trying to teach me in maybe less than a second. How are they doing that? And we don't do like typical platformers or stuff like that, but it's still relevant in terms of like, what do you need to know, and how can you display that in a cool way while also being functional?
For sure. What's something about your process that nobody knows?
A lot of it is sort of just panic. And then once I get over the panic, I'm able to actually get stuff done. But like, I feel like, especially when you're the one creating these characters and these layouts and stuff like that, it's intimidating. And so it's kind of like coming to terms with that, and then being able to perform your job. So I would say most of it is worrying and doing stuff that is not working uh, for a majority of the production, and then kind of cracking it, and then it just kind of flows.
What techniques would you say you have for sort of getting over that initial worry and panic? Because it's totally a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes, like I'm sitting at my desk and I'm like, well, this is it. I got no more ideas. I don't know. So honestly, the best thing is, take a break, like watch a movie, play, get inspired. And Jackbox is great because, yeah, that's encouraged, like if you're having an off art day, make sure you do all the things you're required to do for that day, but also, like, pull resources, do what you need to do in order to sort of get inspired. So it really is kind of like a really openly creative process, which is really cool. Because I feel like I'm lucky because a lot of places aren't like that. It's a little more structured in that way, and it's hard to be creative in sort of a super structured environment. So I'm lucky that like Jackbox kind of gives the freedom to screw around and see what works, or take your mind off of it and come back, but make sure you get all your stuff done when it needs to be done.
Yeah, that's cool how they're structured a little unconventionally. So what would you say your hopes are for 2022, for either personal or for like the industry as a whole?
I mean, it's funny. It's like thinking about the industry as like a whole right now is kind of funny because it's like all the studios like now are owned by either Microsoft or Sony.
Well, that's right.
And it's kind of like, I hope there's sort of less of that. Like I feel like it's not great for the industry as a whole. Because a lot of players lose out on experiences. Not everyone can buy an Xbox and a PlayStation. So it's just kind of like, I hope whatever these companies are doing, they still kind of keep developing for the competition, which I know will probably, I know some of them have said that, but I don't.
Could be a false promise.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying earlier as well. The more that companies are acquiring and consolidating, the less there is of that. I don't want to say less structured, but less creatively free work environments.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we'll see how things pan out, but it's definitely an interesting time. And I mean, for 2022, for you as a creator?
I want to, so I'm actually learning Game Boy Studio. I don't know if
Ooh.
you're familiar or not.
Like, okay. Is it like developing games for Game Boy? Is it connected to chiptune?
So it's this program, and it's all very visual based, which is great, for me, because like I can't code. I know some action script when I need to place it in Adobe Flash, but like beyond that, I don't know much. But Game Boy Studio is really cool because it's a program. It's all it's all visual, and you can make little Game Boy games. and you can actually put them on a flash cart or like a analog pocket, and play, your little Game Boy game that you made. It's really cool. So I'm hoping to play around more with that and kind of, just make some stuff for myself. Because it's really easy to, kind of like just get caught up in, what I'm doing, professionally at Jackbox. And I'm hoping to just have some time to kind of make a little project for myself.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm sure it's satisfying to like create something and then see it on that hardware, especially that hardware where like games aren't really being made for it anymore.
Yeah, and it's cool because there's this whole, community that's kind of growing right now. Because the analog pocket just came out and you can put the games right on the pocket. And so, there are a lot of people, learning this. That the Homestar Runner guys actually just made something and made a Trogdor Game Boy game. And so it's like this really cool, fun little tool that's very approachable. So that honestly, I'm really excited about, making a Game Boy Color game.
That's awesome. Did you see that game that Yacht Club just announced, where it's like it's not a Game Boy Color game, but it's in that very specific aesthetic style?
No, I haven't. What's it called?
It's called Mina the Burrower or something. It's like a little mouse. It looks like kind of Secret of Nim style, but the pixel art is all they're trying to do specifically Game Boy Color style.
Ooh,
because that's making a comeback.
I mean, they're Shovel Knight. They did Shovel Knight, right? Yeah. I mean, that game is gorgeous. So I'm sure that game looks amazing. I'm gonna look it up right after this.
Yeah, check it out. It's really cool. And the only other question I have, maybe you'll have some good opinions on this, being in Chicago, is what is your favorite pizza place?
So it's really hard for me because I grew up and spent a majority of my life on the Jersey Shore. And so like we basically had like runoff New York pizza. So that's the pizza I grew up with. It is in my eyes, it is the only pizza. Here they do something, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing here. Deep dish is good if you don't think of it as pizza.
Oh, okay.
The second you think the second you're like thinking, I want pizza, let me get a deep dish, you're going to be disappointed. Because it's very different from, New York pizza, which is the best pizza.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But what about you? Where your pizza alignments?
Yeah, definitely. I think New York has it locked down, especially now. Being in LA, I haven't been able to find anything that comes close.
Yeah.
Say there was this place in New York that I really liked called Two Boots, and they have
Two Boots.
It's like a small chain. There's maybe like 2 or 3 of them across the city, but they have lots of really interesting sort of topping combinations. Yeah, it was just really well made. But I mean, I really want to go to Chicago because I want to try deep dish. I really want to see Second City live when they're doing that again, and I really want to go to Galloping Ghost.
So I would say if you're gonna do like a deep dish, Lou Malnati's is the place to go. It's like a chain here, but that's the deep dish that some people will say Pequod's, I'm a Lou Malnati's guy. Second City is a blast. Yeah, I don't know if they're doing shows right now or not.
CB isn't, so.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny because like a lot of the Jackbox writers, are Second City people. So like the improv scene is just all over, and spans many Chicago companies and industries.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I feel like there is a lot of improv DNA in a lot of the Jackbox games.
Yeah, I mean, our writers are amazing, and then they're always funny. With the amount of content they have to make too, it's like it's super impressive.
Like, how many facts or questions are there in like one game of Fibbage?
I don't know. I will say Trivia Murder Party, when PAXs used to be a thing. We had the Jackbox stage, which was just this little corner, usually by food court, where we'd have a whole projector screen and just run Jackbox games all day, for anyone to come by and sit on like a sumo beanbag and play Jackbox. And Trivia Murder Party is a game I've seen so much of, so many hours, and I'm still seeing new questions.
Wow.
So I don't know the amount, but like I'm constantly surprised by how much content there is.
That's really cool. That must take a lot of work. Yeah, so that's all the questions I had. If there was anything else you were interested in chatting about, totally sure the listeners would be happy to hear it.
Other than me insulting everywhere but New York and New Jersey's pizza, I think I'm set.
All right, good. Hey everybody, just as we were wrapping up the talk with Owen and wrapping up the show, our internet's kind of mutually stopped working. There was a big crash on Zoom. It sucked, but still wanted to share with you all. Owen told me that his Twitter is at babypopdipstick, so go check out all the cool art and update stuff he shows there, because it's great. I love it. And we're gonna leave you off until next week. Say goodbye with our third and final song from Popskyy, and that is called Come On Up. So I'll have all those links in the podcast description. As usual, support our artist, support our interviewee, and we'll see you all next week. Enjoy.
Bye.